Well, Paul, welcome to the Fitness Society podcast. I'm glad to have you here.
Hi. I'm excited to be here, man. I think we'll see.
I
can maneuver around this desk.
I know it's small. We need to get a bigger one. That was like our first comment. One of the first comments on our video was, "You guys need a bigger podcast desk." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." Like,
you need like one of those big, long executive desks, and we're like on other sides of the room.
Yeah, we'll get an office space just to film podcasts. But yeah, let's jump into where you came from, how you got in the fitness industry. Maybe tell them a little bit about your business. Well, a lot about the business and how you came along with that.
Okay. It all started when I was a little Asian boy, dude, right? No, we don't have to go back that far.
But like, what got you like first in the gym, or who?
Yeah, dude. So when I was like 18 and graduated high school and shit,
Okay.
I had done like no lifting, like at all. And I was a huge piece of shit, not gonna lie. I had like no direction in life. All I wanted to do was get in trouble, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
All the way up to 18. So you're like started late. I mean, realistically.
Yeah.
Because I mean, most like bodybuilders are like, I started when I was 14 years old. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, yeah. My favorite pastime was just getting fucked up at that age. So my dad just came home one day and he was like, "Hey, man, the Army's offering bonuses." And I didn't even think about it. And I just joined the Army, left 10 days later.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were in the military.
Yeah. Like 5 years.
Wow.
It was stupid, but
It was it?
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
I mean, it's okay. It has its ups and downs.
Built your structure probably, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, the Army is a great launch pad for getting started on your life, you know, if you don't have much going on.
Put a little money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Put
you know, VA benefits and college and all that.
Actually, I know some people that I could put in the military and it would do them well, I think.
Probably.
Just like some of those friends that are like, you gonna do anything anytime soon? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. But, yeah, dude, so join the Army. I was always like a fat kid growing up, too. I was fat as shit.
Even up to like joining the military?
Oh, yeah, dude. When I joined, I couldn't do like a good push up, like all the way, like without, I'd be like vibrating, you know? I couldn't do a pull up. I remember when I was in like AIT or something, some girl like watched me try to do a pull up in PT and then like made fun of me later. She was like, "At least I can do a pull up."
No way.
Yeah, dude.
See, this is good shit because like people see you and they're like, "Oh, big dude, like he's been big his whole life." Like they don't realize like you went through what a fat kid goes through, you know?
Yeah.
You went through what, you know, like people just jump to assumptions like, "Oh, he's always been jacked," you know?
Yeah. It's like the classic story where the guy's like just fat and like picked on his whole life and then becomes jacked, you know?
Yeah.
Nah, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, I started lifting and I met this guy Joe. He's actually a client of mine now.
Really?
Yeah. We reconnected recently and he was like, "Oh man, I want to be jacked again. You know, let me be your client basically." But yeah, he was super jacked, like insane genetics. And we clicked and became friends. And he became one of my best friends and he got me into the gym when I was 18, like my first year in the Army or whatever in AIT. And it's kind of crazy. Like you mentioned that, like people were like, "Oh, you've probably done this forever." No, everybody thought it was like the biggest joke in the world when I got into lifting. Like, cause I was always like, I'd buy like muscle magazines or we had like a computer room in AIT. And like at the end of the day, I'd go to the computer room and I'd just be like on bodybuilding.com forums and T Nation forums and stuff like all night.
Bodybuilding.com.
Yeah, and I'd be looking at like a muscle magazine, and somebody would be like, "What, you think you're gonna be like that one day?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was a big joke, but I mean, dude, I just wanted to be super jacked, like more than anything, for some weird reason.
Yeah.
Right.
So the bodybuilding magazines and bodybuilding.com is like how we started. My dad always had like old school. I have some in the store I'll show you after, but like old school magazines of Arnold. And my dad always like, "Hey, check this out, check this out." So like it was just like ingrained in our head, like super young, and we wrestled and whatnot. But like bodybuilding.com was like, my dad would log in and be like, "All right, pick out the flavor of Cytosport muscle milk you want." It was like the most trash protein ever, but like we get a whole 5-pound tub of it and have to drink it.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, dude, that's all I did in my free time, and then I'd make an account. Like I I would participate on like T Nation forums all the time and ask all the big guys questions and just try and soak up as much as I could. And
So that's where you built the educational side, a lot of it. Or, I mean, of course, you got certified in courses and stuff, but
yeah,
you learn a lot from those.
It was just that was just the start of it because I didn't know where this was back in 2000. Like I started lifting 2007 or 8, and so I just didn't know where to get information.
Yeah,
I just wanted the information, anything I could find. And so that whole 5 years I was in the Army, that was like the only thing I cared about was just getting as jacked as possible.
and I feel like the military is a good time to do that. Like you're very structured schedule. It's not going to be like up and like in business. It's so up and down. Like, oh, you're over here this one day. You're doing this the one. You know what I mean?
You're right, man. It's weird. A lot of times they don't like it, right? Because they want you to run a lot, and you're doing a lot of push-ups and sit-ups and random things, and being really big and jacked just doesn't really go well with that.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit the role.
And so, when you're young and, getting huge is the most important thing and you're kind of neurotic, you're like, oh no, like I can't run too much. Like, what if I get like small or something,
It's funny how your brain works when you first start. Like, I remember like Thanksgiving morning, Christmas morning, my mom's like chores list, like you guys need to do this, you need to do this. And we're like, oh, no, Mom, we got to go to the gym. And she's like, you don't need to go to the gym. We're like, no, we need to go to the gym. Like, we have to. And like, it's so funny. Like, when you're so young and just starting, it like burns a mark on your brain. You just feel like you have to be there, have to go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And honestly, we probably all overtrained when we first started, if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's like way too important, like maybe I remember coming back home to visit my parents and my mom making dinner and be like, I can't eat that. You know what I mean? Like I could have ate that,
Yeah, exactly.
It was just that important. Making sure you get all the sleep and all that too. But in some ways it was a really good place to get started in lifting because your day is so structured, I mean, weird things would happen, like, you'd get recall formations, or you'd have to stay late, or you'd have a 24-hour duty, or you'd have to go into the field for a week or two.
Now, do you doing deployments or anything?
Yeah. So, and, depending on where you're at, honestly, most people would come back from deployment looking like totally different human beings because you don't really have much to do or spend your money on when you're deployed. Like we had guys like trying to spend their money on Amazon and getting packages delivered and stuff. But so people just start working out on deployment and come back like I said, looking like totally different human beings.
Yeah.
But no, because of that structure, it was great, right? I mean, because life these days, like I feel like I'm never really off. But it hits 5 o'clock and you're in the Army, you're off, right? And you go lift and you don't worry about anything else the rest of the day,
Yeah. That is that's like the bonus of being an employee versus being a business owner. And especially with social media and having your phone on you, like we're getting tagged of people using our product or wearing our shirt. Like thankfully, I'm thankful for it. But like all the way up to the gym's closes. I'm at home like watching TV and like I get a kid posting fitness size shirt. I'm like, what are you still doing at the gym, dude? Yeah. Like I talked to you at 8 o'clock when I was closing the store.
Yeah, dude, I feel that. But yeah, man, so I'm nearing the end of that 5-year contract or whatever. And I was sick of the Army. I was ready to get out. And I was like, well, I love lifting. What am I going to do in my life? And the only thing I could think of was physical therapy.
Okay.
So I got out, used my GI Bill, went to Kennesaw State University, and the plan was to eventually go to physical therapy school. And around this time, towards the end of getting out of the Army and, early into undergrad, that's where I kind of transitioned from, T Nation forums and stuff to reading research and, following people in the evidence-based community and people with PhDs and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the forums are, they're sketchy. I mean,
yeah.
you get one guy spitting actual facts and then one guy spitting complete nonsense.
For sure, man. But I am grateful for, that there's that mix, that healthy mix of anecdote and experience and then the literature,
Yeah.
and I think you need that, right?
We see that a lot with having a younger clientele at the store. We see a lot of the kids that completely fall for influence marketing, anything they see on the internet. I mean, and it's almost like concerning sometimes. Like, oh, well, I saw a kid on TikTok take 3 scoops of pre-workout. And I'm like, that's not okay. I'm like, I don't care if you saw it. Don't do it. Like, it's not made to be 3 scooped, Like,
Yeah.
you're over dilating, you're overstimulating. Your body's not meant to handle that. And it's just like, it's crazy. Some of the things I hear in the store, like that they saw on the internet, like simple as that, or so-and-so said so. And it's like, well, read a little bit before you listen to so-and-so.
No, yeah, that's scary stuff, man. Especially like when you don't know, like I don't know what the product was or whatever, but I'm sure the kid didn't look up like specific ingredients.
Yeah.
And, how much you should be taking and, top end doses and stuff like that.
And that's like we talk about, like, it's not just what's in it, it's how it reacts with this, how it reacts with whatever else you're taking, like, and the whole compilation of everything. And people just don't think of that. Like, I mean, just for a quick example, like they buy like a pre-workout and a pump, and then you look at the pre and the pump, and it's like, this is way too much. You don't need all this. Like, you half scoop this, take a full scoop of this, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like ideally. But yeah, it's crazy what social media and the forums and like Derek More Plates, More Dates do you ever watch his stuff?
I have, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty educational. He's pretty good.
No, he has some quality information.
Yeah, I like his stuff. He does scientific based, but even like people tend to like even take like science based stuff and like they like run with it, but like they put their own tweak on it. Like they're like, oh, Derek More Plates said this, so I added this to it, and I'm like, wait, why? Why did you add that to it? Like it was just fine before.
Yeah, for sure. Shit, where were we at?
So, physical therapy school, started reading more.
Yeah, and so
clinically studied stuff.
Yeah, I got a little more into the research, and I just happened to be sitting in a class, like I was early in my major, and I had a professor just mention his research, and I still didn't know a whole lot about, just the process of doing research, like who did it, and like where it came from. I just figured there was like some building in this world where people were like, hey, we're doing research. Like this is what we do.
Yeah.
And so I came up to him after class and I was like, that's crazy that you do research. That's super neat. And I was always like outspoken in classes and stuff. So he kind of knew I was interested and, did a little more reading than most of the other students into like outside sources and stuff. And so one day, he comes in and he's like, all right, I thought about it, I could use some undergrad research assistance, basically, right? And, we had like this application process. I applied. He took me in, so I started doing research in undergrad. And that was really cool, man. Exposed me to that whole world, at a relatively early point in, my academic endeavors.
Now, was it fitness related research or?
Yeah, so a lot of his research was in like metabolic disease, and then he did a lot of CrossFit focused research.
Okay.
We called it because during that time there was that whole lawsuit with CrossFit.
The word CrossFit, yeah.
NSCA or whatever, so we called it high intensity functional training. So yeah, got involved in some of that, and then just found it really fun. I was super interested in that whole process, and then by the time I graduated undergrad, I went and got my master's there as well. And they hired me on as a research assistant, and eventually I became a teaching assistant as well. And so I taught some there, and continued to do research. Got a decent number of publications through the end of undergrad. Actually, I got my first first author publication while I was an undergrad.
Really?
Yeah, which was a big deal back then because, prior, not a lot of undergrad students were really involved in research.
Now, are these still on the internet somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Say your full name so we can find them.
Paul Serafini. No, I have a ResearchGate. You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should use those to get verified on Instagram. You can just.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you go into Instagram and there's like the verification process, if you drop your links in there and it like lets you, I'm pretty sure it lets you drop up to like 4 or 5, and that's how you become.
I don't even know what being verified is about on Instagram. I just know it looks cool. You get a blue check mark.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Instagram saying like, hey, this guy's legit. But like you being in business, I don't think it'd be a bad thing. And I mean, it's worth a shot. You could try.
I always thought you had to have like 500,000 followers or something.
No, I actually have a friend that plays basketball. I think he's over in the UK now playing, but just from the newspaper and like news stuff, he got verified. I think he has like 5K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nothing like crazy.
That's insane, man.
But I mean, as far as like a business standpoint, we want to try to do it for the store, like get like local PR just to do something and then give it to Instagram and be like, hey, we're legit. Because it just looks good. I think it looks good on like a business or a person.
I don't even know what it means. I'm just like, oh, blue check mark. That guy's got to be somebody.
It's got to be somebody.
Joe Rogan has a blue check mark.
Exactly. So now Paul's going to have one. We're going to get you a blue check mark.
Hopefully that'd be tight, dude.
So you're researching, and then where'd you go?
Yeah, dude. So
how long did you do that for?
Oh man, let's see. Junior year of undergrad. So that's 2 years. Then my master's took a little longer, so that's another 5 years.
Wow,
something like that, give or take.
Sid does research, but he does research on like outer space.
That actually means shit.
No,
not just like me trying to figure out answer questions on getting like huger.
Trying to get huger. That's the research. No, we talked about like, and I mean, I'm back to where like before you started research. I don't know like how to properly do research, but we've talked about like trying stuff like with creatine monohydrate and like just putting stuff out and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And Sid has like a bunch of different verification things that he can do to actually publish things through FIT. So we thought about, just briefly thought about it.
Doing some case studies.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, dude. Go for it.
And give a bunch of customers creatine and see what happens.
But let's see. So throughout that process, I was like, wow, I love this research stuff. I presented a little bit at different conferences, and I just kind of changed career paths again. And I was like, well, I'm gonna be a professor, and get my PhD, teach, keep doing research, make a name in that field. And then it was in my second year of, or maybe it was my second semester of my master's, had some financial troubles and stuff. And, I had a buddy who was like, why don't you try online coaching, right? And it was crazy because actually a few years back, I remember when I was doing my undergrad, I was like maybe 23 years old.
Now, wait, were you competing at this point too?
No.
You hadn't competed yet?
No. And but when I was like 23, so this was I was around 28 years old. And so let me backtrack.
How old are you now?
33.
32? Okay.
I need to think about that for a minute.
33?
Yeah, at a certain age, you stop thinking about your age. 33. I fucking think. I don't know, dude. I need to bust out my calculator and do some
Time goes
math.
faster and faster.
It really does.
People are like, how old are you? I'm like 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that.
Right now, I'm 33. No, fucking. But yeah, dude. So I actually took a stab at coaching when I was 23 in my undergrad because I had hired a coach right before I got out of the Army. And after a while of working with him, I was like, dude, this is easy. I could do this.
I could do this.
I could do this for people. I was talking to like some girl at the gym and she was like, would you coach me and like do my macros and all that? And so I started coaching her. But at that age, I was living a pretty comfy life. The Army was paying me, a living stipend, while they were paying for my undergrad or whatever. And I was just like, I just lacked a certain level of maturity. Like I'd have something bad would happen in my life. I don't know, a girlfriend broke up with me, and I would just not want to coach this person anymore. I just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like young and just,
And I feel like to run a successful coaching business, you really have to have that structure with your client. So the accountability, the check-ins, the in touch, like you have to be focused for sure.
Yeah, and I just lack that level of maturity at that point in my life. And then it was like a few years later, like 2016 or something, I had some other friends. You know of Johnny Wynn, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He asked me to do some programming for him and a couple other people. And so I took another short stab at it. This time I charged some money, right? Like $50, $70 or something a month. But just once again, right? I just didn't. When you're not making that much money, it's just really, and you only got a few clients. It's tough to want to deal with the headache.
And that's like the start of like like I was talking to a meal prep guy. Like all these like businesses, like service type businesses, are super annoying in the beginning because it's like, oh my god, I'm dealing with 10 people for 600. Like especially then, 10 people for say whatever $600, $1,000. It's like fuck. And it really, you don't see that return until you get to like the 20s to 30s. And you're like, oh shit, all right, I'm making pretty good money. This is cool now. Like, then you really, the money motivates you, you know. No, but also the client, you know, the client transformations and stuff. You start seeing that.
I'm not gonna bullshit you, dude. The money is important. You know, like it really is, man. Because I'll tell you what, man, it wasn't worth, you know, because when you're first getting into it, you have people, you know, not doing check-ins or, you know, just there's a lot of this stuff, the background stuff.
And when they're not motivated, you're not really like,
it just becomes easy to be like, oh man, I should write this program right now. I'm going to watch Netflix and write it tomorrow morning, you know, just putting stuff off. And so I kind of fell out of it again. But anyways, now coming back to when, I was, you know, this was like maybe 2018 or something. I was about 28 years old or so. And, you know, I had some financial issues and my buddy was like, why don't you try coaching? And I remember, this is why I circled back the first time. The first time I started coaching, I actually asked this guy, I was like, hey, what do you think? I'm thinking about being a coach. What do you think? And he was like, the world does not need another shitty Instagram coach, Paul. Like he shut me down. Yeah.
Jesus.
He was like,
even with all your research and stuff?
Well, back then, the very first time, I hadn't gotten into research yet.
Oh, okay.
You know, this was like early undergrad.
And what's funny is back then, it wasn't even half of what it is now.
Yeah.
Everyone in their mother has in their bio, DM me for a program. It's like... Absolutely.
Yeah, because this was back like 2012, 13, something like that. And so, so it's crazy, you know, because people are seeing like the stuff I'm doing with research. And I used to just put out a bunch of, I would read something and then like post about it on Facebook because it was just fun, right? Yeah. To learn something and then share about it. And
I'm like that with books. When I read books, I get like excited to read them, and then I like share with people. I'm like, hey, read this. And then they're like, I'm like, hey, did you ever get that book? They're like, no. And I'm like, fuck. Like, gee, I was all excited about it.
I was also kind of a dick too. Like somebody would say something and I'd like, you know, this is why you're wrong, you know, like nerd out on them and stuff and be in like Facebook arguments all day. But no, so it was cool. This time, you know, I was like, hey, you know, we were a casual conversation thinking about some ways to make money. He was like, you should be a coach. I was like, oh, wow, you're Team Paul now, you know? But he was like, no, you've grown up a lot, and I think you could actually be very successful in doing this now. So I gave it another go, charged a decent rate. I think it was like $100 for training, $100 for nutrition, $150 for both.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was just the right amount of money to make it motivating. I mean, dude, it became my priority, you know? And at this time, I was like taking my own classes in grad school. I was teaching, I was doing research, and I started coaching. So there were literally nights. I mean, on average, I probably got 3 to 5 hours of sleep a night that year in my life. You know? There was literally one night where I worked until 8:30 in the morning, took a nap until like 10 or 10:30, and then went and taught a class at 11:30. Yeah.
Damn.
So like I was just, it it just became my priority, right? Even more so than school, because like I'm actually
Making money, you're getting a return on it.
Yeah, the school's paying me like $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of a sudden I'm making decent money for pretty much the first time in my life outside of like the little bit of money I made in the Army. And so, yeah, man, and really immersing myself in it this time, it became really gratifying, getting up a decent client load and just taking a different sort of path on it and just being more involved, and I don't know, just cared a lot more this time.
This was like
right?
2018 then?
Yeah.
Now, is that the one when you started your brand now you have?
Yeah. It grew so fast that like 2 or 3 months in, I was like, oh man, this is like an actual business. I should probably make like an LLC or something.
Right, structure this some way and save for taxes.
Yeah, I was like, I got to pay taxes on this or something.
Sid, are we good? Is it rolling? All right. Yeah, should probably pay taxes. I feel like that's like when people start like service type businesses where it's like not really like super traceable, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, then they're like, oh, yeah, taxes. Like, got to pay those.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know anything about the IRS, but I'm like, what if they find out one day, Yeah. So yeah, man, started empirical training and nutrition. And,
Is it imperial or empirical?
Empirical.
Empirical.
So that kind of goes with the whole research thing.
Okay. Cool.
And it just grew really fast. And at the time, it was meant to just be a side gig, right? Like I just had a roommate he actually moved from Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, he was kind of how I got in touch and started meeting some people from around this area. But he just couldn't cut it in grad school. And he just missed home a lot. And just one day, he was just like, I'm packing up my stuff and I'm out. And
Really?
so then I had another roommate. And pretty much it largely just fell on me. I was like, I need to make money to cover this now missing rent that we have. And so that's why I started coaching or whatever.
I'm always shocked by like younger people getting homesick. Like, I mean, I guess I get it a little bit, but like, I've had some people like friends move away and like within a couple months they're like back home. And they're like, oh, dude, I just missed home so much. I'm like, as a young man, like, mostly young guys I know that have done it. Like a young man, you moved to a whole new area, and like, I guess you were, homesick, but you were bored. Like, I moved here, and my brain just went. I mean, I grew up in like cornfields though, so I got here, and I'm like, opportunity. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, dude. With some people, they've never been anywhere else. And I don't know.
My biggest thing I got here from the cornfields and the winter, and I'm like, girls in bikinis year round. I'm staying here.
No doubt.
And I'm not leaving.
No, Florida is beautiful, man.
It is.
I get homesick occasionally, but I'm like, I don't know. I've had being in the Army, moving to different places, and then even when I moved back to Georgia after the Army, I didn't move back to my hometown or whatever. So I guess I'm kind of used to the bouncing around. But no, some people do take it super hard, dude.
Yeah,
they move someplace new, they get super sad. Maybe other small things happen in their life that aren't really great, and they're just like, I'm done. Go back home.
I have a mentor, and he always says, I don't remember what the exact statistic is, but like most people grow up and like stay within 100 miles of their hometown.
Yeah.
And he always is like, that's good, Connor, that you're down in Florida. You moved well away from your hometown. But he thinks, he's like, I think he's 75, 78, and he thinks it's like important, like to get out of the nest, get away from like that support.
Yeah.
So you are out on your own, and it does cause that reaction of like, oh man, like I need to provide, I need to do.
Dude, I think it does cause some good growth, man.
Yeah, it makes it like example, like I lived with my great grandfather at first, which he's my great grandfather. He's passed away by now, but I only knew him, and he was 98. I wasn't about to meet anyone through my 98-year-old grandfather. Yeah. So like I'm at the gym, and I'm like I'm just like talk to the front desk people. I'm like, who's cool around here? Like, where's a good place to go? And like through going to like smoothie places and like different gyms. I just started meeting people, but it forces you to go out and talk to other people. Like you can't just like in your hometown, you can kind of just, you have your clique that you grew up with and you're good.
And it causes you to grow as a person. That's one thing about the Army that I did not have a good time in the Army, but I would never take it back because I was exposed to so many people from all over the U.S. and some other countries, right? I had to move around to a few different places over that time.
That's awesome.
And it's just, it shaped so much of who I was at that time, right? And
I want
am
to
now,
travel
but-
out of the country, but I'm like nervous too.
Really?
I don't know. It just freaks me out. Like I feel like there's so many like opportunities to be like swindled in like things.
Wake up in a bathtub with like no kidneys.
Yeah, literally handcuffed in the back of a car.
Just you're
drunk.
sold in a black market.
Exactly. You see all those scary movies like that.
Yeah.
Like Taken. So you started Empirical
Yeah.
in 2018, and then what?
It just, rapid growth, right? My first couple months, I'm at 10 clients, right? And then, maybe by 6 months, 20. And then the next thing I know, full load, 30 plus clients, and, that's why I spent so much time at work is just when you're a new coach, like having that kind of growth is like, it's almost too much, right? Because when you first start coaching, you're second guessing your decisions. And, I was using a lot of Excel spreadsheets, so I was getting better at that, like learning a lot of that stuff at the same time. And so, updating 13 clients when you're a brand new coach could be a 13-hour thing, right?
Yeah.
But then you get better with time. And the next thing you know, like managing 13 clients turns into a 4-hour day, over some months, and then you can take on more. But no, it just grew really rapidly. And I just, at the end of it all, I was like, I really enjoy what I'm doing right now. I could do this forever. And also at that time, starting to kind of get burned out on research, dude.
Okay.
Because most people don't really start doing research until they're in their master's. And I already started in undergrad, already been published by the time I finished my undergrad. And then,
And that's like a pretty huge thing in school, right? Like to be published and stuff.
Yeah. Because in many scenarios, there's no, like, there's a lot of incentive for professors to be published, right? Because they're trying to get tenure and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that stuff. So, you don't really get an opportunity. Like if you get an opportunity to be published as an undergrad, like especially as a first author, like they really feel like you deserve it, right? Or they're really, what I mean? They're investing in you.
That's cool.
So
I kind of I went to community college. I went high school, 2 years of community college. The second year of that 2 years was online. So I skipped a lot of like the college stuff. So I honestly don't know much about like the research stuff.
I mean, most people go through like, even
and I
if,
also went to business school too. So.
I mean, yeah, most people go through their entire undergrad and don't even know research is happening or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't talk to their professors unless they're, trying to figure out when something's due or, hey, why'd I get a C on this or whatever.
So I had a rule, and I was not a good high school student. Like I just struggled I always felt like, I'm like, why am I here? Like this is stupid. Like all the classes. But when I got to school, like my business classes, I was like, ooh, I want to be in these. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I paid to be in these. So I had a rule. I always got there and sat front row, and I was like raising my hand. Unlike high school, I was like tucked in the back, like eating my meal. Like don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me. I was much more engaged in college. I liked it a lot better.
Yeah, dude. If you're interested in whatever you're doing or learning about, dude, it is
so
way
much
more
easier.
fun.
Yeah.
I honestly, there is a point where I was like, why can't I just be a career student?
Oh God. Be a lot of debt right there.
I know, right? But yeah, so kind of reaching the end of my master's, towards the end of that, and just being like, I'm making good money now. I really enjoy this. I just kind of kept going with it,
That's
and
sweet.
I was like, yeah, forget the PhD, right? Because also you have to remember, because of the Army, I started college when I was like 22, 23. And then, I got my master's. By the time I was done with that was 2020, right? I was like 31, 32 or something.
Oh, so this is more recent then that you got your master's.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And then, so if I would have gone another 3 or 4 years for a PhD, right? Like I'd be starting my career at like 35, 36 years old or something, and that was really daunting in itself. Like, oh, I'm not going to make any real money until I'm 36 years old. Right. And like getting older, things are becoming more serious. I'm like thinking about retirement and stuff. And I'm like, so, yeah, man, kind of left all that behind, the academic stuff, and just, I've been coaching since.
That's awesome. That's a big feat right there. That's sweet.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really, dude, honestly though, I'm so glad for all of those experiences I've had along the way, because otherwise, just being able to interpret like research and the critical thinking skills that you get doing research, and talking to really smart people like PhDs all the time, so
Make you a little smarter.
yeah, I think that was really advantageous in terms of getting into coaching.
No, I think the self-reflection and like that's like I've like definitely made mistakes. I've definitely failed, definitely messed up. But like I think back on it now and I'm like, everything happens for a reason. Whether you like the military or not, whether whatever. We traveled all over doing nuke plants. Like we get shitty jobs, but like I think of it now and I'm like, I'm glad I was there. Like
Absolutely, dude.
if anything, it's a story.
I mean, all that stuff led to where you are now.
Exactly.
Like if you didn't go through that, who knows what you'd be doing right now.
Yeah, we always I'm huge on that. Like one little thing or one person, like I don't know, say back 2018 when I first moved here and I met a different person that instead of the one I met, where would my direction have changed?
Yeah.
I think of that stuff a lot, and it's just crazy because like because you'd meet one person, they'd take you to meet their group,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. But like every little thing, military,
You lose yourself thinking about it, man. Like, what if I didn't meet Joe and he didn't get me into the gym? What would I don't know.
exactly. Like what if you missed that one opportunity to go to the gym that one day?
Or it could be really awesome and I'd be like working at Facebook, making $300K a year right now or something.
Easy work, getting a nap midday.
Yeah. I mean, I get to do that now as a coach, but
That's true. You made your own Facebook job.
yeah.
But all right, man. Nice talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, dude.
Let's get this out there for the people to see.
Let's do it.
I think we'll drop this probably like 4 days or so.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Well,
Like, subscribe, and comment.
bye.